Blake Lively could do so much better than Ryan Reynolds.
Oh.
Whoa. Whoa. Actually, kinda. I mean, Jesus, right? I mean, yeah. Especially lately. I could do better.
I'm staying right where I am.
Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds are so intertwined in pop culture that fans practically see them as a dynamic comedy duo. Their long-running antics, whether it's trolling each other on social media or pulling off hilarious cameo pranks, have kept audiences entertained for years. But in recent weeks, an unexpected bombshell set the internet ablaze. Whispers spread like wildfire that Ryan Reynolds had allegedly been fired by Marvel. The rumor caught on like a storm, throwing social media into chaos. Some fans flat out refused to believe it, while others were furious at the mere idea of losing one of the most beloved characters in the franchise. The speculation alone was wild, but what truly sent shockwaves through fandom was the claim that Hugh Jackman, Ryan's longtime friend and legendary roasting partner, had finally spoken out. For die-hard Marvel fans, the idea of Ryan being axed seemed almost impossible to digest. He is Deadpool. His character isn't just a fan favorite, it's a cornerstone of how the anti-hero genre thrives in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yet, despite how absurd the rumor sounded, clickbait-fueled articles started circulating, citing mysterious insider sources, claiming Marvel had reached its limit with him and decided to cut ties. Naturally, the internet had one burning question. What did Hugh Jackman have to say about all this? Given his legendary history as Wolverine and his off-screen bromance with Ryan, fans expected him to either shut down the noise or add fuel to the fire. Online forums exploded, dissecting every tiny comment or gesture, hoping for a clue about where Hugh really stood. At first, the thought of Marvel dumping Ryan was met with sheer disbelief. But once Hugh's name got thrown into the mix, things took an even wilder turn. Ryan Reynolds isn't just another Hollywood star. He's one of the most bankable names in the industry. Beyond his acting chops, he's mastered the art of self-promotion, using his social media presence to turn any project, superhero or not, into a must-watch event. Fans have also pointed out that Marvel has a long history of nurturing strong relationships with A-list talent, especially those who bring iconic characters to life. Marvel Studios has built a reputation for carefully strategizing every move, rarely making rash decisions unless absolutely necessary. Yet, despite this track record, the rumor about Ryan's firing refused to die down.
Ryan Reynolds just had the biggest movie of his career, but when it comes to one big follow-up he was asked to make for it, he said he's out. Ryan Reynolds doing Deadpool and Wolverine had the second most successful movie this year behind Inside Out 2, which made $1.3 billion on a budget of $200 million. After the movie, Ryan Reynolds announced he was going to be working with Hugh Jackman on another movie that wasn't related to Marvel but would be a comedy film. Recently, Ryan Reynolds was asked if he'd be interested in hosting the Oscars after an online petition was set up for them to be the dual host. Finding a host for the Oscars has been difficult since 2019 when Kevin Hart was fired as the host because he was called anti-transgender. He made a tweet saying he'd break his daughter's dollhouse if he found his son playing with him because that was called anti-transgender and the Oscars went 2 years without a host. Ryan Reynolds did address the question about the Oscars, saying he doesn't really watch them because they don't really appreciate comedy or action movies. One big example being the Nutty Professor movie, which made $274 million on a budget of $54 million, but Eddie Murphy wasn't nominated for an Oscar and Ryan Reynolds said he should have been.
Many speculated that Deadpool's edgy, no-holds-barred humor might have clashed with Marvel's more family-friendly branding. Could this be the breaking point? Some argued that creative disagreements could have pushed Marvel to take drastic measures, like cutting Ryan loose. Others dismissed the whole thing as internet nonsense, a baseless rumor spun out of thin air by social media chaos. But as more people weighed in, the story took on a life of its own. At first, whispers revolved around whether Marvel was struggling to fit Deadpool's R-rated humor into the PG-13 world of the MCU. Then, things escalated. New claims surfaced, alleging Ryan had serious creative clashes with certain producers who weren't convinced that Deadpool's signature style could survive the shift. Was there truth to this? Or was it all just another Hollywood conspiracy cooked up for clicks? The internet wasn't letting this one go anytime soon. So-called insiders claimed that tensions ran high behind the scenes, with heated disagreements over script revisions, cameo appearances, and overall creative direction. While nothing was confirmed, fans were obsessively dissecting every interview, searching for hidden meanings in even the most casual remarks from Ryan or Marvel executives. Then came the most explosive twist yet. Rumors surfaced that Ryan had been fully dropped from Marvel and that Hugh Jackman was about to break his silence. Why did Hugh's opinion matter so much? Because for years, he and Ryan have shared a playful, fan-favorite feud that's kept audiences entertained. It all started with Ryan's first, and let's be real, widely hated portrayal of Deadpool in X-Men Origins, Wolverine. That disaster of a performance became a running joke, fueling their hilarious back and forth that evolved into viral internet gold. From mocking each other online to surprise cameo pranks, their friendly rivalry became legendary. Hugh officially retired from playing Wolverine after Logan, but that changed when he shocked fans with the announcement that he'd be returning alongside Ryan for Deadpool 3. Their chemistry is so cemented in pop culture that any rumor about Ryan being axed instantly pulled Hugh into the drama. And here's the real question. If Ryan was actually fired, what did that mean for Hugh's much-anticipated return? Fans had been buzzing for months over their reunion, but if Ryan was out, was Hugh still in? Would Marvel scrap the whole thing? Jackman, known for his charm and calculated responses, wasn't the type to spill industry secrets. But that didn't stop fans from grasping at every vague remark he made, hoping for a clue about what was really going on. Take this, for example. Hugh Jackman casually mentioned that he still had a lot of respect for certain Marvel execs. And suddenly, the internet went into overdrive. Some fans twisted his words into a cryptic clue, convinced he was hinting at the fallout that supposedly led to Ryan's exit. Others dug up old interviews where Hugh talked about the pressure of meeting fan expectations and spun it into evidence that he was secretly shading Marvel over Ryan's rumored firing. But here's the thing. None of these wild interpretations had a shred of actual proof. That didn't stop gossip blogs and social media warriors from pumping out clickbait headlines like Hugh Jackman confirms Ryan Reynolds' Marvel ouster, or Hugh Jackman calls out Marvel execs. The internet was eating it up, despite zero confirmation from Marvel, Ryan, or Hugh. A few level-headed voices tried to calm the storm, pointing out that nothing official had come out. In fact, across reliable sources, everything still indicated that Deadpool 3 was on track, and Ryan was still very much involved in Marvel's grand plan. Hollywood insiders knew Marvel wasn't the type to just toss out an A-list star. They invest heavily in long-term partnerships, carefully crafting synergy between actors and the brand. Besides, let's be real, Ryan and Hugh's legendary banter was a marketing goldmine. With Deadpool 3 on the way, their hilarious dynamic was practically built to sell tickets. But despite all logic, the rumor just wouldn't die. The internet still clung to the idea that Ryan must have done something to push Marvel to the brink, and that whatever Hugh said next would finally reveal the truth. With speculation at an all-time high, fans were practically counting down to the moment Hugh Jackman would finally break his silence. Every time he stepped into the spotlight, whether it was an interview, a charity event, or a casual social media post, the same burning question followed. What's really going on with Ryan Reynolds and Marvel? Yet, Hugh remained strategically tight-lipped. He dodged the topic with his usual charm, keeping things light whenever Ryan's name came up. But his silence only fueled the fire. Some fans took it as proof that something major was happening behind the scenes. Others believed he was simply refusing to engage with baseless rumors. Even entertainment reporters tried to trap him, pushing for any hint of confirmation or denial. But Hugh, ever the pro, sidestepped with a grin and avoided feeding into the frenzy.
What was the meeting like when you're discussing with Disney the jokes about Disney?
The fun story would be that Disney was just appalled at everything and was never going to let us do anything. But that's on one hand. On the other hand, money. They had a lot of faith in us to deliver,
and to self-govern. So yes, there's jokes in there that I personally cannot believe they let us.
And in
neither did
fairness, because we were like the kind of good boy students turning in our script every once in a while, and every time we send a script, we were like kind of waiting, and the pushback never came.
Then, something shifted. During a routine press event for a completely different project, a journalist finally went for it, framing the question in a way that implied Ryan had already been axed from Marvel. They pressed Hugh about whether this supposed firing would affect his own involvement in any future Marvel films. And this time, Hugh's response was different. According to attendees, he looked genuinely puzzled before throwing out a half-joking, half-exasperated remark. "That rumor gets bigger every time I hear it." And just like that, the air shifted. He didn't read off a formal statement. He didn't explicitly debunk anything, but the way he laughed it off, the way he seemed caught off guard by how big the story had become, that said it all. Whatever was happening, Hugh clearly wasn't treating the rumor as some earth-shattering truth. And if anything, Hugh seemed amused by the whole thing. Fans immediately swarmed social media, declaring that Hugh Jackman had finally spoken. But as always, interpretations were split. Some took his lighthearted response as undeniable proof that the rumor was completely bogus. Others weren't so quick to dismiss it, suggesting that Hugh was choosing his words carefully, maybe to avoid stepping on Marvel's toes or revealing something he wasn't supposed to. This moment perfectly captured the delicate dance of Hollywood gossip. When a high-profile star like Hugh only addresses a rumor indirectly, people start reading between the lines. No, he didn't explicitly say Ryan was never fired. But the subtext? It seemed like the idea of Ryan Reynolds being cast aside was either completely unknown to Hugh or so ridiculous that he didn't take it seriously. Of course, die-hard believers in the firing theory weren't buying it. Some insisted that Hugh was covering for Ryan or that Marvel had given him a script to downplay the controversy and save face. But on the other side, the overwhelming reaction from most fans was relief. The mere thought of Ryan losing Deadpool had sparked outrage, so seeing Hugh laugh off the rumor felt like the closest thing to an official confirmation that Ryan was staying put. And here's the thing, if Ryan had actually been fired, wouldn't Hugh, at the very least, have shown some level of disappointment? Some frustration over losing a co-star and their highly anticipated Wolverine-Deadpool crossover? Instead, his casual, almost playful response suggested that the whole thing was either wildly exaggerated or completely made up. But just as fans started celebrating Hugh's dismissal of the rumors, critics were quick to point out one glaring detail. Marvel itself hadn't said a word. No official statement, no confirmation, no denial. Silence. Normally, when a major shakeup happens, whether it's a casting change, a creative dispute, or behind-the-scenes drama, the industry's top trades, Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, immediately pick up the story with insider sources. If a scandal is big enough, Marvel's PR team usually steps in to control the narrative before it spirals out of hand. But this time, nothing. The story remained trapped in the online rumor mill, bouncing between clickbait-heavy blogs and social media speculation. That alone made people question its legitimacy. Because let's be real, if Marvel actually cut ties with Ryan Reynolds, it wouldn't just be a random internet rumor. It would be front-page news, headlines everywhere. But instead, crickets. Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds? He was acting like nothing had happened. No cryptic posts, no shady subtweets, no dramatic reactions. Instead, he was doing what he does best, firing off hilarious tweets, joking about everyday life, and teasing fans about upcoming projects. If he'd been axed from Marvel, you'd expect some kind of noticeable shift, maybe a sudden pivot to promoting other work, or a subtle rebranding strategy. But nope, nothing changed. Fans started to notice that Ryan's social media presence didn't match the chaos of the rumor. And Hugh's laid-back, joking response only made the whole thing seem even more ridiculous. If Ryan had been secretly booted, wouldn't Hugh, his longtime friend and co-star, show at least a little concern? Instead, he just laughed it off. At this point, the entire situation was looking less like a legitimate scandal and more like another case of Hollywood gossip spiraling out of control. Still, some fans refused to let go of the drama. They became obsessed with the idea that behind-the-scenes chaos was unfolding, speculating that contract disputes were being handled in secret. They dug up past statements from Ryan where he emphasized how crucial creative freedom was for keeping Deadpool authentic. And from there, the theory took shape. What if Marvel wasn't willing to give him that freedom? Old debates resurfaced. Could Deadpool remain R-rated while existing in Marvel's PG-13 universe? Did that creative clash spiral into a full-blown standoff that led to Ryan getting pushed out? Fans who had been counting down the days for a Wolverine-Deadpool showdown started panicking. What if the entire plan was scrapped? The internet ran wild with more outlandish theories. If Ryan was really gone, would Hugh be forced to shoot his Wolverine scenes alone? Would the entire Deadpool 3 script be rewritten to fit a new direction? The lack of any official response from Marvel only fueled the speculation, but at the same time, Hugh's carefree attitude didn't match the so-called crisis. And here's where things really didn't add up. Why would Marvel willingly throw away one of its biggest assets? Let's not forget, the first 2 Deadpool films, made before Disney took over Fox, were massive box office hits. And they weren't just successful, they were groundbreaking, proving that an R-rated, fourth-wall-breaking anti-hero could dominate Hollywood. And who was at the center of that success? Ryan Reynolds. His comedic genius, his one-of-a-kind portrayal of Deadpool, and his ability to connect with audiences made the character unstoppable. Bringing Deadpool into the Marvel Cinematic Universe is more than just a creative decision. It's a financial goldmine. The potential for crossovers, cameos, and Ryan's signature humor woven into the MCU's biggest franchises? That's a moneymaker on every level. Would Marvel really throw that away over a creative dispute? The whole rumor was starting to look more ridiculous by the minute. Industry insiders were the first to point out that Marvel doesn't just drop A-list talent on a whim. If Ryan Reynolds was actually let go, there would have to be a major, undeniable reason. Yet, the rumor never quite explained what that reason was. Just vague claims about creative clashes and speculation about Marvel struggling to balance Deadpool's R-rated humor within its PG-13 universe. Nothing concrete, nothing verifiable. Meanwhile, Hugh Jackman's comedic denial became the rallying cry for those who dismissed the entire rumor as nonsense. His reaction was everywhere. Fans flooded social media with memes, clips, and reaction videos declaring that Hugh had single-handedly shut down the speculation. To them, this was the final nail in the coffin. But of course, the rumor mill wasn't going down without a fight. Supporters of the theory clung to the idea that Hugh's words weren't an official confirmation, just a lighthearted deflection. The truth might still come out, they insisted. And just like that, the rumor refused to die. Sensing the shift in public sentiment, tabloids and gossip blogs started changing their tune. Instead of sticking to the claim that Ryan had been fired, they began pivoting their narrative. Now, they suggested that Marvel had backtracked, or that Ryan and the studio had reached a last-minute agreement to keep him in the MCU. Same drama, new twist. And of course, fans dug up Marvel's history, pointing out that big recasts and replacements have happened before. They cited the Terrence Howard situation in Iron Man and how Edward Norton was replaced by Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, both instances where Marvel made major cast changes without hesitation. So, some argued, if it happened before, who's to say it couldn't happen again? But there was one key difference. Unlike those past cases, there was no solid evidence that Ryan was actually out. And with Hugh laughing off the rumors rather than showing concern, the theory was starting to look shakier than ever. Some fans even theorized that Ryan and Hugh's comedic personas were being used as a smokescreen.
This might be a really controversial take, but Kevin Feige needs to retire. You had a good run, buddy. You gave us one of the greatest if not the greatest, cinematic universes of all time. But it's time to hang the towel up. For God's sake, the current Captain America is anti-American now. You also fired Jonathan Majors over essentially nothing. And now you have one of your biggest Marvel stars, Ryan Reynolds, revealing to the world that he's making a complete jackass of himself. Are people even excited for Deadpool anymore after this whole Justin Baldoni scandal? There's no word on Shang-Chi 2 and Moon Knight Season 2. You announced that there's going to be no Season 2 for WandaVision. You just announced RGJ as Doom as if like that's going to save everything. Because I've been paying attention, there's no allusion to Doctor Doom yet. This entire time, Marvel fans are still in that Kang storyline with the multiverse. We need to give this to a new person with a new perspective and honestly just a better business owner. Like, I can't imagine how much money Marvel has lost within the past 5 years. That should be grounds for you to be fired. I think a lot of us are coming to the realization that Marvel truly died with Endgame, and it needs to be given to new hands to start anew.
A way to hide a deeper, messy behind-the-scenes fallout. But others pushed back, arguing that this situation wasn't comparable to Marvel's past high-profile exits. Unlike the very public disputes that led to actors like Terrence Howard and Edward Norton being replaced, there were no leaked contract battles, no financial conflicts, and no verified insider reports backing the claim that Ryan was out. In fact, the complete lack of industry coverage from trusted sources only made it seem more likely that the rumor was nothing more than an overblown fabrication. If Marvel had actually fired Ryan, major outlets like Variety and The Hollywood Reporter would have been all over it. Instead, the story remained stuck in rumor-heavy blogs and social media speculation. And yet, through it all, one thing never wavered: fans' excitement for the Wolverine-Deadpool crossover. Speculation was at an all-time high. People obsessed over potential storylines imagined the perfect balance between Wolverine's gruff, no-nonsense attitude and Deadpool's wild, fourth-wall-breaking insanity, and debated which cameos could shake up the MCU. Would other X-Men show up? Could this be the start of something even bigger? Some fans even floated another theory. What if the whole rumor was a marketing stunt? What if Marvel was deliberately keeping people guessing to build hype for a massive reveal? But others dismissed the idea, pointing out that Marvel's marketing strategy tends to be structured and polished, not reliant on negative speculation or internet gossip. Still, the rumor refused to die. Hugh Jackman's long-awaited comment became a turning point. Not necessarily because it confirmed anything, but because it gave fans something concrete to latch onto. Eventually, the constant buzz and demand for answers put pressure on Marvel's representatives to finally step in and address the controversy once and for all. But Marvel, they stayed completely silent. Some fans weren't surprised. After all, major casting decisions and collaborations are rarely addressed until Marvel is ready to drop a big, polished announcement at an event like San Diego Comic-Con or Disney's D23 Expo. This wasn't unusual. Marvel operates on its own timeline, and when they do reveal something, it's on their terms. Another wrinkle in the rumor? Ryan Reynolds himself. His comedic persona thrives on teasing, trolling, and misdirection. Could he have been playing into the speculation just for fun? Maybe. But after Hugh Jackman's dismissive, joke-filled response made the headlines, the mystery started to fade. What once felt like a looming controversy began to seem more like a baseless rumor blown out of proportion. Public sentiment shifted. Fans who had been genuinely worried that Ryan was gone started to roll their eyes at the drama. The more rational voices pointed out that if Marvel had truly made such a massive decision, there would be real evidence. Insider leaks, industry reports, something. Instead, there was nothing but online speculation. Meanwhile, Hugh kept doing what he does best, having fun. In subsequent interviews, he carried on as usual, still cracking jokes about Ryan's over-the-top marketing tactics, still throwing playful jabs in their ongoing feud. There was no weird tension, no awkward shift in how they interacted. If Marvel had actually cut Ryan loose, wouldn't Hugh's tone have changed dramatically? Wouldn't their entire dynamic be different? Instead, they were still teasing future collaborations, still roasting each other like nothing had changed. Everything pointed to Ryan's relationship with Marvel remaining intact. Some fans even argued that Hugh's lighthearted approach was his way of quietly easing any remaining anxieties. If there was a real scandal behind the scenes, would he be this relaxed about it? At this point, the rumor was running out of fuel, but for most fans, there was never any real tension to begin with. Still, despite being thoroughly debunked in the mainstream, the rumor refused to die completely. In certain corners of the internet, it lingered, occasionally resurfacing when someone posted yet another unverified inside scoop. But for the wider audience, Hugh Jackman's dismissive humor had sucked the oxygen out of the controversy. At this point, it was getting harder and harder to believe that Marvel would suddenly cut ties with one of its biggest comedic powerhouses in the superhero world. Over time, fans began to accept the reality. This was just another case of social media hysteria turning a wild theory into a full-blown spectacle. But where did this crazy rumor even come from? No one knows for sure. Some think it started as a simple misunderstanding, maybe over scheduling conflicts or script revisions that got twisted along the way. Others believe it was deliberately manufactured, a calculated effort to stir up drama, feeding off fan anxiety to generate clicks and engagement. Then, there's another possibility. Hardcore Deadpool fans who hated the idea of their beloved, R-rated, foul-mouthed anti-hero being merged into a PG-13 Marvel universe may have planted the rumor to create doubt and resistance to that shift. But at the end of the day, none of these theories come with hard proof. What is clear, though, is that this entire saga proves just how deeply invested Marvel fans are. They scrutinize every hint, every quote, every subtle shift, real or imagined, for signs of major shakeups in casting and storylines. And while many fans were hoping for a definitive conclusion, the simplest answer had already been given. Hugh Jackman laughing it off. To him, the idea of Ryan Reynolds being fired was so ridiculous that it wasn't even worth taking seriously. And while his comment wasn't a formal press release, it aligned perfectly with Marvel's radio silence. Because let's be real, if Ryan had actually lost his Marvel contract, the repercussions would have been too massive to brush under the rug. His social media would have shifted, Marvel would have had to scramble to adjust major plans, and insider sources from trusted Hollywood outlets would have spilled the truth. Instead, nothing. No meltdown. No damage control. No signs of Marvel panicking over how to introduce Deadpool into the MCU. Just business as usual. Since none of the telltale signs of a firing have surfaced, fans can finally breathe easy. Deadpool is still in the game. The wisecracking, fourth-wall-breaking mercenary hasn't been booted from the franchise after all. But on a larger scale, this entire fiasco serves as a perfect example of how Hollywood thrives on rumors. In today's world of instant speculation, high-profile celebrities like Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, who already have a wildly entertaining dynamic, become easy targets for internet-fueled drama. Throw Marvel into the mix, an entertainment powerhouse with an obsessive fan base, and it's no surprise that a baseless rumor can spread like wildfire. If there's one major takeaway, it's this. Silence from the studio doesn't always mean there's a scandal. More often than not, it simply means there's nothing worth addressing. If Marvel truly had a PR crisis on their hands, they'd be rushing to control the narrative, not sitting back and watching fans work themselves into a frenzy. At the end of the day, the only real impact of Hugh Jackman's comments was the relief it brought to fans. His playful, dismissive remarks became the closest thing to an official statement, reassuring people that Ryan wasn't going anywhere. And unless Marvel drops a bombshell announcement, all signs point to the rumor being just another fleeting Hollywood myth, a temporary distraction that will soon fade into the background once the next major casting leak or industry shakeup takes over. Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds? He's carrying on as usual, posting his signature comedic takes, pushing new business ventures, and staying involved in philanthropic efforts. Nothing about his career suggests a sudden upheaval. If anything, he seems unbothered, and, oh yeah, still very much in the Marvel family. And as for Hugh Jackman, he remains the witty, sharp-tongued entertainer fans love, always ready with a side-eye whenever the rumor mill drags him into drama he had no part in. He knows how Hollywood works, and when speculation gets out of hand, he handles it the same way he always does, with humor and a smirk. At the end of the day, the real proof will come when Marvel makes its next big move. If and when we get official confirmation of Ryan's next MCU appearance, possibly alongside Hugh's return as Wolverine, that will be the final nail in the coffin for this entire rumor. Because that's all it ever was, a rumor. Until then, fans can enjoy the ride, rewatching their favorite Deadpool and X-Men moments, laughing at Ryan and Hugh's legendary banter, and waiting for the inevitable comedic reveal that proves Marvel has something massive in store. If history tells us anything, these two aren't done with their on-screen chaos just yet. Hugh's lighthearted response serves as a reminder that in Hollywood, wild claims tend to fade fast once the people at the center of them speak out. And in this case, Hugh Jackman's reaction says it all. Ryan Reynolds and Marvel are still very much in business together. So, what do you think? Was this rumor just another internet-fueled illusion, or do you still have doubts? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, because trust us, the next big Marvel bombshell is always right around the corner. See you in the next one!